Welcome to Surf, Kayak, and Waveski Surfing, a beginner's journey. I'm your host, Richie Guerrero. In this multi-part series, we'll talk about all the things that a beginner might be going through, as I've been going through them myself. We'll be talking about different surf kayaks, wave skis, equipment, and how to ride waves. But more importantly, how you can have the most fun possible in the sport of surf, kayak, and wave ski surfing. Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 5 of Surf, Kayak, and Waveski Surfing, a beginner's journey. I'm Richie Guerrero. I'm about an hour outside of New York City, here on the East Coast, USA. And today's episode is all about wave skis. But before we get into it, let's take a look at the links below. You can see the full clips of what you just saw at the beginning, and also watch the movie Take a Seat, a wave ski movie on YouTube, as they're coming out with part 2 in the next year or two. So it contains all the best wave ski action along with a little bit of history on how the wave ski came about. And today I'm going to try to not use the term better than. So if you're on a sit on top plastic kayak, something that might be a little more user friendly, or you're an experienced paddler and you can surf a sit-in side where you're skirted in and you can roll and do all these great techniques. I'm not going to use the term better than when I refer to the wave ski or any of these boats, because that means something different to everyone, especially the beginner. So what is a wave ski? Well, the best definition that I found is by saying it's a sit-down surfboard. You surf waves with it. It's got a place for your seat and your feet, and you use a kayak-style paddle to surf the waves with it. So since this is a beginner series, we'll start at the extreme, right? You've got the extreme. You've got 1, surf kayaks, sit on top plastic surf kayaks, something similar to this. It's going to be a lot more buoyant. It's going to give you more float. It's going to be more beginner friendly. It's going to be a lot more stable. So you've got the other extreme, which is like the guys you just saw flying through the air at the beginning of this episode, right? So you've got the two extremes. So if you're a beginner and you'd like to move to something that's a little more high performance, then the wave ski could be a great option for you. I say that because if you don't have the skills needed when you get turned upside down and using the sweeping motion of using the paddle to right side yourself effectively, then the wave ski is a great choice. So we're going to look at the one I have in front of me. Now, this is nothing like the ones you just saw the guys flying through the air with. Okay, this is actually too big for them. This is made for me. It's, I'd say, an intermediate level wave ski. It's designed in the high performance sense that, yes, It's like a shortboard surfboard, and this particular model is 7 foot 10 inches by 25.5 wide. What this is basically a foam blank, EPS or polystyrene foam, just like a surfboard, with fiberglass or carbon Kevlar fiber wrapped around that foam after it's been shaped and carved. Epoxy resin is applied, and when it turns to glass, it's going to encapsulate foam and make it watertight. So basically, it's like you're owning a surfboard that you sit on. Now, because it's foam and fiberglass, it's going to be much lighter in weight. So if you watch episode 2, all the sit-on-top plastic surf kayaks that are great for beginners, they're going to be in the 40-pound range. This one is 20. And of course, you can get them made lighter or a little heavier. But just being about half the weight, of course, it's going to have some great benefits. Just getting it from your car in the parking lot to the shoreline and surf it. You can carry it under your arm. I've made a little strap because my arm is actually too short to grab this like a surfboard. Or you can use the method where you stick your arm and shoulder underneath the seat strap, and you can carry it in the traditional sense, or you can see guys grabbing the foot straps and hanging it over their back and walking out of the water. And because they're so light, when you're in the surf, you're going to really be able to use your body to move this Waveski and turn it much quicker than the heavier sit-on-top plastic kayaks. But because they're fiberglass over foam, it's going to be more fragile. So as opposed to the sit-on-top surf kayaks that are made from roto-molded plastic, okay, these are going to be fragile. One, you are not going to take your Waveski and ride it all the way into the sand at a screeching halt. You are not going to take this to the absolute second into the shore break and get slammed on the sand. You will snap the nose if you go straight into a sandbar. It'll crack right off. If you come in sideways on the sand, you are going to snap the fin boxes out of this for sure. So this is the life of a surfer. Pulling it out of the garage, dropping it on the parking lot, flying off the roof of your car, you're going to get cracks and dings in these. And that's just normal. So you have to ask yourself, is that something that I'm willing to take on? And you know what? That's the life of a surfer. I use sun cure if there's little holes in here that I get by accident. I can use my Dingall fiberglass repair kit, or I can take this to a surf shop and have it done professionally, glassed and sanded. And another benefit to the Waveski is you can have these shaped for you depending on what you want to achieve in the surf, as opposed to the 3 plastic sit-on-top surf kayaks or the particular models, right? This is the Banshee model. This is the Edge model from Mega. With a Waveski, it's like a custom surfboard. This one is shaped exactly for me, my height and my weight, and what I wanted to achieve in the surf. Because you can get wider Waveskis, you can get longer Waveskis, you can get your Waveski made for you if you weigh 200 pounds, 260, or if you're 5'6" and you weigh 150. But one thing you should remember is, if you are a beginner and you're coming for something that's a lot more stable, this is not that. And Waveskis generally are known to be less stable in the water. So, one, I cannot sit on top of this Waveski with both my feet in the straps waiting for a wave. It is much too narrow and it sits below the waterline a little too much. It's not stable enough and it's not made for that. So you are definitely going to be working muscles and working a lot harder than if you're on something that's very floaty and very stable. So that's something that you're going to have to take on. They're not fast paddlers, so getting from the sand through the whitewater out to the surf is going to be a lot more work than something that's more floaty and buoyant and longer. Paddling for the wave as it's rolling in, you're going to have to work a lot harder than if you're into something that's a longer kayak or something that's longer and has a bit more float. So those are the kind of things that if you are going shorter and lighter and you want more high performance, it's going to take a little more work from your muscles to get this thing going. But once you're in the surf, you're going to find it a lot more snappier and quicker, almost like a shortboard surfboard, whereas the sit on top plastic kayaks are going to be more like, I would say, a longboard. So how do you try out a Waveski? Well, it can be a little difficult because you'll notice here's the seating area and here's the feet area. Well, you can see that you don't really have a lot of play in these, okay? I can move my straps a little bit here. I can move the seat a little bit, but you're talking inches. So that's the thing. With a custom style Waveski, it's designed for a particular height and generally a particular weight. That's the start. So I'm 5'9". So when I contacted Ian McLeod at Waveski USA, I gave him my inseam. I gave him what we call our seat to feet measurements, which is sitting against the wall, putting my heels out, putting a tape measure, putting a fist under my legs, sitting with my legs bent like I do on the Waveski, and gave him that measurement where I feel comfortable. So this is made for someone in the 5'7" to maybe 5'11" range. Yes, I weigh 190. So I'm thinking somewhere below 200, 210 pounds, you'll have a good time in this. But it's only 25.5 inches wide, so it's going to be a little tippy. So what does that mean? Well, if you're looking for a used Waveski, you have to find out what the seat to feet measurements are, or ask the owner, how tall are you? How much do you weigh? You will know pretty quickly if you're going to be able to fit in this, because you don't want your knees too high up where they're pushing into your gut. And you don't want your legs to fall too flat. You're not going to be able to get it on its rail and turn. So it's a little bit tricky if you're trying to purchase a used one. So here on the East Coast USA, our guy is Ian McLeod from Waveski USA. He's very helpful. And the thing is, he's got so many different types of templates, the overall shape, the starting point for your Waveski. So this happens to be a cross between his Animal and IR model, which I specifically asked for. But if you're on the heavier side, or if you still want more of a beginner type Waveski, perhaps you'll get something that's wider, like 28 inches, which is considered pretty wide for a Waveski, but you will be able to sit in there, hopefully, with your knees and your feet in place. And if you're comfortable using the knee straps instead of the waist belt, you'll be good to go. You can have more float, so it'll paddle out a little quicker and such, but just realize every time you start adding more length and width and floatable volume, you start getting away from that high performance aspect. So this for me is like the breaking point where I'm just comfortable enough, where I'm stable enough on it, and I can still get that high performance Waveski feel that I was looking for. It's going to be a little unstable, so I'm not able to use the leg straps. I'm using the waist belt. So here's a little bit about the waist belt. So once I've assembled my waist belt, first thing I'll do is sit on dry land and adjust it, get it to where I'm comfortable, where it's not too tight and not too loose. I need to be able to sit off to the side with my legs spread, and I need enough slack where I can get my legs into the footwells. And when I release my waist belt, I'm going to keep my feet in the foot straps that will keep me connected to the board, because I don't want all my weight to be pulling up on the belt and making it too tight so that it doesn't release. So I'll lean back. I usually have my paddle in one hand, and I use my left hand to grab the tab and pull across. Now you do have to be able to get your fingers underneath that tab a little bit, okay? But if you put your weight back, you should have enough slack to where you'll have space where that tab will have enough for your fingers to pull across. There's also another method I use where I will pull up with part of my hand. I can either use my thumb or my index finger to pull the tab up. So by pulling north or pulling up that way, you'll see that the tab actually starts to get space underneath it. See how that works? So that's going to be a lot easier if you're using gloves. If you're using a paddle leash for your paddle, it should be no problem with you abandoning your paddle. And if you had to use two hands for some reason to undo your waist belt, remember, you can pull up and get all that extra space underneath there to release it. I'm going to put this clip on and simulate a problem with the belt tab. Maybe a piece of material or plastic has broken off or something. It's very rare. But I do know that on my left side, the female end of this buckle has enough slack with the webbing and the Velcro that I can undo it and I can slip out the back. This particular model has a V bottom, so there's going to be a slight angle that goes from almost just above the center back behind the fins, which is going to enable me to go rail to rail a little quicker, but it is going to add to the instability of the Waveski. And generally, the thruster model, 3 fins, is pretty much the standard in the surfing world. Gives you a lot of flexibility. And here in the US, these style fins are called futures fins. And this particular fin here that Waveski USA is using is the standard US fin box that you'll also find on surf kayaks, and generally the center fin in longboards and stand-up SUP surfing boards. And I won't talk a lot about fins, but generally the rule of thumb is if your surfboard Waveski isn't performing the way you'd like it to, change the fins. That's pretty much a global statement in the surfing world. And it's usually bigger fins for bigger people and bigger fins for bigger maneuvers. So I'm really not that kind of surfer. So I'm using the standard 3.5 inch on all 3. And generally the center fin, you're going to be able to move it forward and backward. And of course, the further back a fin is, the better it's going to track, but the less it's going to turn. So I try to find a happy medium. It's almost all the way forward because I'm experimenting in turning a lot quicker and things like that. So how did I end up with this particular Waveski? Well, I want you to know I bought a used one directly from Ian McLeod at Waveski USA. I said, I'm 5'9", I weigh 190. I'm a bit of an experienced surf kayaker, and a surfer, a stand-up surfer for about 40 years. And here's what I'm looking for. And he said, Richie, this one will fit you. The seat to feet area is perfect for you. It's 8 foot long. It's 26 inches wide. It's got some rounded rails, so it's good for a beginner. I took it, I jumped on it in the water, and I fell right off the other side. I said, there is no way I can surf this. I really made a mistake. But after a few hours, a few days, a few weeks, and of course, a year later, I got used to how unstable it was and eventually got to be pretty comfortable with it. So comfortable that I called Ian McLeod at Waveski USA and go, you know what? I'd like to get into this Waveski a bit more, but here's what I want. I want something that has less rocker in the front and the tail, all right, especially the tail, because there's a particular wave here that I need the extra speed. I don't want the rounded rails. I want a little bit more sharper. I want it a bit more like a surf kayak. I really want it to be a lot faster. And I said, I want a tri-fin, 3 fin boxes, and 26 inches was my breaking point where I felt stable enough and comfortable enough in the water. I said, just around 26, this one is 25 and a half. I wanted something under 8 foot. This is 7 foot 10 inches. And of course, he knows my seat to feet, my inseam, my weight, my paddling ability. And we talked about what I would get and if I could grow on this Waveski, and I absolutely love it. I will say, if you are a surf kayaker or a whitewater kayaker and you're used to being skirted inside one of these, they're going to be a bit harder to roll for a few reasons. You don't have the volume pushing the water away when you're upside down and you try to get on your side. You kind of just sink because your legs are up in the air, your body, and all the water is just encompassing you everywhere. So you don't have that extra volume to kind of push the water away and like roll the entire surf craft up. You also only have basically your waist and your feet as points of contact. And the surf kayak, you're going to have, for me, my lower back and my foot blocks. I can push myself. I've got points of contact on the top of my toes to my knees, to the thigh grips that come with these or are installed, and also foam on the hips. So being so much tighter in these as opposed to kind of sitting loose on this, these are going to be a lot easier to roll back up as opposed to the Waveski. So as a beginner, after listening to all those details about a Waveski, if that's something that you're not willing to take on right now, then maybe the Waveski Phoenix could be for you. This is a plastic thermoformed Waveski. It's not 40 pounds, it's 26 pounds. This was designed by Ian McLeod, world champion shaper for 40 years. And it's designed by a Waveski surfer, not a kayak company. So unlike a surf kayak, you'll see it doesn't have any scupper holes. You're going to be sitting just a little bit higher, but it's 28 inches wide. It has a lot of buoyancy. It's 8 feet long, and it can carry a rider up to 300 pounds. It comes stock with the thigh straps, although you can upgrade to foot straps and a waist belt. You can also add a back band. So if you are suffering from lower back problems, and that's one thing about the Waveski, you really don't want to start adding seat backs to it because it limits the ability to turn with the hips and lean in all 360 degrees to make that Waveski really high performance. Something like this with a seat back or a back band might be for you. The channels here, the standard fin box, which allows you to put smaller fins, larger fins in combination with the channels. And because this was designed by a world champion wave skier, I find that it definitely turns quicker and sharper than some of the other sit-on-top surf kayaks that I've tried. And to quote Pete Blenkinsop, the author of In the Green Room, and who I consult with personally, the Waveski performs great when the conditions are great. Meaning if it's sloppy, if it's windy, if it's choppy, if there's a lot of white water being thrown around, riding a Waveski can be a challenge. My Waveski friends will only surf Waveski all the time, every time. And my surf kayak friends will only surf kayak all the time, every time. So everybody's different, and I hope you guys are having fun out there in whatever you're surfing. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.
Loneliness and me, I asked myself for peace and found it at my feet, staring at the sea. All the glitter is gold. Don't believe what you've been told. Wrestled by the sea, I dream of you and me. I let it go for me. It washed up at my feet, staring at the sea. All the glitter is gold. Don't believe what you've been told. People lie, people love, people go, but beauty lies in every soul. If you wait for the moment.
Be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and leave your comments down below. You can also follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and I'm also a member of the East Coast Waveski Association.
If you